Have you ever wondered what goes on in the mind of a narcissist? Or perhaps you're curious about what kinds of books a narcissist might read? Well, you're not alone. Narcissists, like anyone else, have preferences and tendencies when it comes to their reading habits, though their choices can reveal a lot about their personality and worldview. In today's video, we're diving deep into the top 5 books that narcissists tend to gravitate toward. Whether these books serve to fuel their inflated egos or confirm their distorted self-image, each title speaks volumes about how they perceive themselves and the world around them. If you're looking to better understand narcissism, this video is a must-watch. So grab a seat and let's explore the fascinating and sometimes disturbing reading list of a narcissist.
Journey to rebuild
Do
their
you have
social
any
lives.
experience with narcissists or their behavior? Have you ever noticed the kinds of books they read? And if you're ready to learn why survivors often face this challenge, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more insights into the world of narcissism and healing. Let's get started. Reason number 1. Trust issues, the foundation of isolation. Trust issues are one of the most significant barriers narcissist survivors face when it comes to forming friendships. Narcissistic relationships are often built on manipulation, lies, and broken promises, leaving deep scars on the survivor's ability to trust anyone. The constant gaslighting and emotional abuse make it almost impossible to believe that others, especially new friends, can be genuine. When someone has been repeatedly deceived or invalidated, they begin to question everyone's motives, even those who are truly well-intentioned. The idea of opening up and trusting another person feels like a risk too great to take, so the survivor often chooses isolation instead. This fear of betrayal can lead to emotional walls that keep potential friends at a distance. Survivors may find themselves second-guessing every interaction, analyzing words, actions, and intentions, convinced that the same patterns of manipulation will occur again. Instead of building new connections, they withdraw and remain guarded, protecting themselves from potential hurt. This constant vigilance leaves them isolated and lonely, even though they long for genuine, supportive relationships. Trust issues, born from the trauma of narcissistic abuse, become the foundation for emotional isolation, making it incredibly difficult to form or sustain lasting friendships. Reason number 2. Fear of rejection or abandonment. For survivors of narcissistic abuse, the fear of rejection or abandonment is a deeply ingrained emotion that often prevents them from forming new friendships. Narcissists are notorious for emotionally withdrawing or discarding their victims when they no longer serve their needs, leaving the survivor feeling worthless and unimportant. This abandonment leaves deep emotional scars, making it incredibly difficult for survivors to trust that anyone else will stick around. The thought of being rejected again is so overwhelming that many survivors hesitate to open up to others, believing that, like the narcissist, people will eventually leave them when things get tough. As a result, narcissist survivors may put up emotional walls, not because they don't want friends, but because they fear the pain of being abandoned again. They may avoid intimacy or push others away before they can get too close, convincing themselves that it's safer to keep people at arm's length. This constant fear of rejection leads to emotional withdrawal and isolation, even when there's a genuine desire to connect. The trauma of past abandonment becomes a powerful barrier that keeps survivors stuck in a cycle of loneliness, where the fear of being hurt outweighs their hope for healthy, lasting friendships. Number 3. Emotional exhaustion. The weight of healing. Emotional exhaustion is a common and often overlooked challenge for survivors of narcissistic abuse. After enduring constant manipulation, gaslighting, and emotional invalidation, it's no surprise that many survivors find themselves drained and depleted. Narcissistic relationships are emotionally taxing. Survivors spend so much energy trying to navigate the unpredictable behaviors of their abuser, questioning their own reality, and trying to please someone who is never satisfied. Once freed from the narcissist, survivors often realize they've poured so much of themselves into trying to survive that there's little emotional energy left for anything else, including forming new friendships. Healing from narcissistic abuse is a long and painful process, requiring significant emotional labor to rebuild self-worth, trust, and a sense of security. Survivors often feel mentally and emotionally exhausted as they're still processing the trauma and trying to reclaim their lives. This exhaustion can make socializing feel like an overwhelming task. The idea of investing time and energy into friendships when they're already drained becomes too much to bear. Instead of seeking connection, they may retreat into solitude to recharge and heal, which only perpetuates their isolation. Emotional exhaustion, a direct result of the narcissistic trauma, makes it difficult for survivors to fully engage in new relationships, as they're still trying to find balance and restore their emotional strength. Number 4. Difficulty with boundaries. For survivors of narcissistic abuse, setting and maintaining healthy boundaries can feel like an impossible task. Narcissists are notorious for overstepping personal limits, whether through emotional manipulation, guilt-tripping, or controlling behavior. As a result, survivors often struggle to recognize where their own needs end and others begin. Years of boundary violations leave them feeling unsure about how to protect themselves without being seen as selfish or difficult. This confusion can spill over into new relationships, where survivors may feel hesitant to assert their boundaries for fear of confrontation or rejection, leaving them vulnerable to being taken advantage of once again. The difficulty in establishing boundaries often leads to relationship imbalances, where the survivor ends up giving more than they receive or tolerating behavior that isn't healthy. When they do try to set limits, they may feel guilty or anxious, believing they are being too harsh or unkind. This struggle makes forming meaningful friendships challenging, as survivors fear being manipulated or overburdened by others' needs. Over time, this fear can result in emotional exhaustion and withdrawal, as the survivor feels trapped between wanting connection and the overwhelming need to protect themselves. Without the ability to set and enforce boundaries, friendships become a source of stress, not comfort, and survivors often opt for isolation instead. Number 5. Lack of self-worth, the inner struggle. For survivors of narcissistic abuse, the most damaging impact often lies in their diminished sense of self-worth. Narcissists are skilled at devaluing their victims, frequently undermining their confidence with harsh criticism, belittling comments, and emotional neglect. Over time, this constant devaluation can leave survivors questioning their value, feeling as though they're not deserving of love or healthy relationships. This internalized belief of unworthiness becomes a powerful barrier, making it incredibly difficult for survivors to open themselves up to new friendships. Even when others show kindness or genuine interest, the survivor may doubt that anyone could truly care for them, convincing themselves that they aren't worthy of real connection. This lack of self-worth often leads to self-sabotage when it comes to friendships. Survivors might push people away, feeling that they'll eventually be rejected or abandoned once their true selves are seen. They may withdraw from social situations, convinced that no one will understand or accept them as they are. The inner struggle of feeling not enough can be paralyzing, keeping survivors from forming meaningful, lasting friendships. This belief that they don't deserve happiness or companionship perpetuates their isolation, even though deep down, they long for genuine connection and belonging. Rebuilding self-worth is a crucial part of healing, but it's a long process that requires time, self-compassion, and support. Number 6. Social withdrawal and isolation, the survivor's shield. For many survivors of narcissistic abuse, social withdrawal becomes a protective shield and automatic response to feeling vulnerable. Narcissistic relationships often create a constant sense of emotional instability, where the survivor is repeatedly manipulated, invalidated, or abandoned. After enduring such traumatic experiences, survivors may retreat into themselves as a way of protecting their hearts and minds from further harm. This self-imposed isolation is an attempt to regain control over their environment, as social interactions may feel overwhelming or unsafe. The fear of being hurt again often outweighs the desire for companionship, and withdrawing from others seems like the only way to avoid repeating the emotional pain they've suffered. While this isolation may feel like a temporary solution, it can lead to deeper loneliness over time. The survivor may find themselves trapped in a cycle of emotional withdrawal, where the more they isolate, the harder it becomes to reconnect with others. Though they may crave meaningful connections, the fear of vulnerability keeps them stuck in their shell. This social withdrawal acts as a shield to protect their fragile emotions, but it also prevents them from healing fully. Over time, this isolation can further entrench feelings of abandonment and unworthiness, making it even harder to break free and form healthy, supportive friendships. The journey to healing requires stepping out of this protective bubble and learning to trust others again, but it's a slow, courageous process for any survivor. In conclusion, narcissists go out there to stay distracted. They want to avoid all occasions that could invite them to connect with you at a deeper level. Yet there are some narcissists who do not go out at all, which does not necessarily mean they're not narcissists. What you have to remember is distraction, a constant chase for novelty, which they never find, and they are in a constant state of dysphoria.